Hello and howdy, everybody. A couple days ago, I saw a movie that I very much enjoyed watching, Dredd. I did see Dredd in 3D, as it is advertised. It was filmed and shot in 3D. So I did see it in 3D, even though I am not the biggest fan of 3D. I enjoyed it in this aspect. I didn't think it was very over the top. I thought it blended in nicely. Really, it just was there to give, it's not like they were like trying to make a 3D movie. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, where they put stuff out on, reaching out of the screen. It was never like that. It was never like that. It was more about showing the depth of the scenery more than anything. It really wasn't cheesy. It really wasn't cheesy in the use of its 3D. But there was definitely some cheddar cheese being spread around here and there. I really enjoyed the film. I'm giving it a 7. It was a relatively mindless, good time. I just had fun. I had a good time. Dredd is about Mega City 1. First off, okay, Dredd, Judge Dredd, is a comic book. It's been a comic book for many years. I think the first Judge Dredd story was in the late 80s. I'm not, certain about that, but I'm relatively sure that it was in the late 80s. I don't know. I think he's a British creation. I think it was a British comic book. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me, because I want to know. But I'm pretty sure he is a British creation. I never really got into the comic book. I only got Judge Dredd when a particular artist was drawing him. I can remember, I believe Sam Keith did some Judge Dredd books that, I had to have because he's Sam Keith. And also I got Judge Dredd books whenever he had crossovers with Batman, which did occasionally happen. So I have a very little, but some knowledge of the Judge Dredd mythos. They made a film of Judge Dredd before. It was called Judge Dredd. It starred Sylvester Stallone, came out in the early 90s. I'm not sure of the exact year. It kind of holds a special place in my mind, the original, that is, Judge Dredd, because it was around that time. I would say I was between the ages of 12 and 14 when Judge Dredd came out in theaters. I saw it in theaters. And it's around that time where my taste started to mature. When if a kid wants to see a movie, the kid's gonna love that movie, pretty much no matter what. Unless a kid is dragged to a movie by his parents or their parents, they're not gonna probably love the movie. I mean, they'll like going to the movies, but they're not gonna like the movie. But even if a kid remotely wants to see a movie, being on that big screen, they're gonna think it's awesome, no matter what the movie is. Well, around that time, I was really pumped to see Judge Dredd, because I had read some Judge Dredd comic books, and I was like, all right, a comic book movie, which at the time, in the early 90s, was still, not as prevalent as it is today. Basically, only your Supermans and Batmans had comic book movies, and here, there was a streamer like Tank Girl got a movie, and here Judge Dredd gets a movie, so I was like really pumped. And I saw the movie, and afterwards I was like, ill at ease. I had this uneasy feeling because it wasn't good. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second, that was a bad movie. It was around this time when I was like, wow, what? It was like all movies that I don't, are all movies that I want to see aren't necessarily good. It just kind of, there were several instances around that time that really just kind of, where I knew that something in my brain was changing, that something wasn't right here. And Judge Dredd always sticks out in my head as being this movie that I was so pumped about. And then afterwards, I was just incredibly let down. Whatever. This totally redeemed Judge Dredd for me. First of all, so all the fanboys will know, Judge Dredd never takes off his helmet. That's one of the things that people hate about the first one, is he only wears the helmet in a few key scenes. In fact, maybe only the first scene, if I remember correctly. Here, Judge Dredd starts out without his helmet. We never get to see his face. He then puts on the helmet, and he never takes the helmet off. He is Judge Dredd for the entirety of the film, which is about 90 minutes, and the 90 minutes goes by relatively quickly. Judge Dredd is training a new judge. This judge, so there was some variety, does not wear a helmet because she has psychic abilities, as she is a mutant. So we get that nice interplay. We don't have to see two faceless people talking for the entire film. So he's training a new judge, and they have a crisis where a entire, what they call mega block, which is basically a apartment building, a block. See, that's why I go back to that British, sense. It uses a lot of British terms, and I think I could swear that Judge Dredd is a British comic. So we got these mega blocks, these monstrously huge apartment buildings, and I believe the one they're in is 700 floors, 700 stories tall. And this entire building is controlled, operated, secured by a drug lord called Mama. And Mama makes a few key mistakes, attracts some attention, and now all of a sudden judges are in her building, Judge Dredd, taking his training partner to the mega block. So now she's got judges in her building. She shuts down the building, securing everything. No one can get in, no one can get out. And basically tells everyone to get the judges, kill the judges, and there will be rewards. This plot is incredibly similar to the Indonesian film, The Raid. I would have to say that they saw The Raid or they knew of The Raid, because, again, this is, there's no way around it. It is a exact copy of the premise of The Raid. Cops getting trapped in a impenetrable fortress, and then left to deal with the, scum and villainy that live there everywhere. So the story, obviously, nothing pretty much new, if in fact just kind of copied, lifted from The Raid. What really impressed here was the directing. The whole time I thought it was Tamir Burkhoff, I believe is the name. He did Night Watch and Day Watch and Wanted, that Angelina Jolie flying magic bullet movie. But it wasn't. I shouldn't even mention his name because it wasn't him. It was a name that I wasn't familiar with. I can't remember that name right now, but he's definitely got a visual flair. This is really just a visual showcase. There is, the plot is thin. The character development is there. It's not great. We only get to know a few of the characters, where there are a lot of characters. A lot of people die in this movie. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of blood. I saw this film with a mostly sold out crowd. There were, open seats here and there, mostly sold out. and mostly dudes. You know, it was mostly like gangs of dudes, and like I could tell, like there was an open seat next to me, but next to that open seat was a girl who was with a guy on a date or what have you. I could tell that she would have rather been anywhere else. I don't know if the ladies are going to like this movie so much, because it is very bloody, it's very gory, and she was hiding her face a lot, and laughing at the cheesy lines and acting. You know, she was, whatever. I guess she was having a good time, but she was squirming in her seat a lot. I thought she wanted to be somewhere else. So maybe the ladies aren't going to like this film so much. But if you're a dude, you're going to like it. You know, you're going to like it a lot. It's what I remember a Judge Dredd story to be like. You know, very simple, very straightforward, very bloody, violent. You know, law and order is right, chaos is wrong. You know, so it's very base. You know, it's got base themes, basic elements. There's not much. It's not very layered. You know, you don't have to think too much. You just go and you have fun, and you are hypnotized by the psychedelic visuals, and the 3D. There's a lot of drug use in this film, futuristic drug use. I believe the drug is called slow-mo, this new inhalant drug that makes time seem as if it's passing at something like a tenth of its normal, speed. So there's a lot of slow-mo. There's, because Dredd's, never on it. So he really has no problem killing a lot of people because everyone's drugged up and moving, really slowly. And there's lots of slow-mo, exploding heads, and, jaws being ripped off. And, it's just grotesque. And it's fantastic. All the acting is really good. I can't, I don't think I can tell you one name that's in this movie. I can tell you the one name. I can tell you Dredd's name is Carl Urban. Carl Urban played Bones in the new J.J. Abrams Star Trek. If you didn't know it was him, then you wouldn't know it was him, because, all you can see is like this of his face. So for the entire film, he's this. And he does a good job. He works his nostrils and his lips, in a way that you never see his eyes. And I always feel that the eyes is where acting is pretty much done. So it was a challenge, no doubt, for him to be able to convey. For some intents and purposes, this is a vocal performance. So you definitely have that vocal, but you can tell that, he was really thinking of what can I do with my lips and my teeth and my tongue to, accentuate this character even more. So I enjoy that. That acting challenge. And I think he pulled it off. And he was Judge Dredd. He totally made me forget that Sylvester Stallone even ever tried to portray him. So it was really good. Special effects were tremendous. Again, visually, very good. Very good. Something always to look at. The colors are just sumptuous. It's a visual feast. I was even trying to figure out how they were filming some of it. They use like filters and something to make it seem like, I really can't even describe it, like the 3D separated the image from the lens. Yeah, that makes no sense to me. But it's like there's this fine layer of static over like all the action, and when there doesn't need to be, like when it shows a scene where all of the characters are hopped up on this drug, then it seems like everything is shown through this prism of bright light. So there's always like this, what's it called, a scrim? I can't remember the theater term. But there was like this light sheen over everything in the movie. And depending on what the mood was, what the setting of the scene was, it was either darker or, it always had something to do with affecting the mood of the film. And as far as I could tell, it was, a filter trick, a visual effects trick, maybe even a lighting trick. I have no idea how they did it. And I mean, it made me think about, the filmmaking aspects of it, or how are they doing this. So, again, I thought it was, technically something very good and something kind of new and different. Again, the story isn't anything, like literally really nothing new, but it's just fun. It's fun and visually highly rewarding. And if you like your sci-fi, violent, then it's, definitely up there. It's very violent. It's very violent. I don't know what else to say about it other than I had a really good time in the theater. And then I thought that it was a good use of the 3D. I really gave myself a headache that day at the movies, though. I saw this with End of Watch, and End of Watch just has this extreme, like shaky cam, thing going on the entire time. And then Judge Dredd has the 3D and everything going every which way. I'll tell you what, after that evening at the movies, I had myself quite a hell of a headache. But, I don't really blame the movies, I guess. It's just my damn brain. Yeah, that's it. The costume designs, I mean, again, everything you look at was really good. Set design, costume design. You are there. You are in Mega City 1. So that, it was very effective at escape. Just an overall good movie. I don't even know. I guess I'll give it a 7 if I haven't said that before. I apologize, but I think Dredd's a solid 7. It's nothing brilliant, but it's certainly nothing that to scoff at. So yeah, okay, there you go. I think I've said enough. That's Dredd. I give it a 7. Thank you very much.